Тяжело же, блядь. Вроде еда и тепло, что тебе еще надо? Бабу еще бабу бы еще надо. А за нее платишь нервы где. Потому что его надо сам. Ну нет, в принципе, если это тогда можно так сказать. Да. А это да. Ну наоборот тогда. Ну надо понимать. Нет, я тебе точно скажу, что вот так вот. То есть, если она, я вот не хочу терпеть, чтобы она даже за свой, тем более за свой, откуда у тебя свой счет, блин, номер? Да, покупал себе какой-то, там, ходила перед вообще просто. Это ненормально, блин, что твоя жена, чтобы тогда не понимает нас. Так это, если я ее люблю, я ее хочу, она моя, блин. Все, точка, вопроса есть, нет? Типа как, а что у тебя не так, что ли, было? Типа, твоя и уже не ну нет. Поделиться людям надо, тоже да, она поняла себя. Ты после этого кто такой вообще? Жену надо отдавать людям через детей. Что за бред, блин? Что ты такое несешь? Что за ахинея? Я тебя понял. Нигде. Все, больше ничего у них нету. Уровень достижения современных технологий общества, мужского населения планеты. Да плевать, ну как, да, ну да, не мужского, там бабы половину делают, мне плевать. Ну нет, это ничего не меняет. Ну тогда все, да иди, да и это, в джунгли, как я понял. Ну, что? Можно я посмотрю еще про эти штучки? Это же так интересно, тебе не нравится? Ну нет, много что есть интересного, это все понятно.
Cher entrepreneur, j'ai une annonce insolite à vous faire. Et cette annonce risque de plaire à tous ceux qui souhaitent se lancer ou développer agressivement leur business. Il y a quelques mois, j'ai reçu l'appel de mon éditeur m'annonçant que mon livre Business était devenu best-seller Amazon France en moins de 24 heures. En l'espace d'une seule journée, des milliers de commandes avaient réduit les stocks à zéro.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-Minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. This glorious paper from about 7 years ago was about teaching digital creatures to walk. The numbers here showcase the process of learning over time, and it is clear that the later generations did much better than the earlier ones. These control algorithms are not only able to teach these creatures to walk, but they are quite robust against perturbations as well, or, more simply put, we can engage in one of the favorite pastimes of a computer graphics researcher, which is, of course, throwing boxes at a character and seeing how well it can take it. This one has done really well. Well, kind of. Now, we just noted that this is a computer graphics paper, and an amazing one at that, but it does not yet use these incredible new machine learning techniques that just keep getting better year by year. You see, these agents could learn to inhabit a given body, but I am wondering what would happen if we would suddenly change their bodies on the fly. Could previous methods handle it? Unfortunately, not really. And I think it is fair to say that an intelligent agent should have the ability to adapt when something changes. Therefore, our next question is, how far have we come in these 7 years? Can these new machine learning methods help us create a more general agent that could control not just one body, but a variety of different bodies? Let's have a look at today's paper, and with that, let the fun begin. This initial agent was blessed with reasonable body proportions, but of course, we can't just leave it like that. Yes, much better. And look, all of these combinations can still work properly, and all of them use the same one reinforcement learning algorithm. But do not think for a second that this is where the fun ends. No, no, no. Now hold on to your papers and let's engage in these horrific asymmetric changes. There is no way that the same algorithm could be given this body and still be able to walk. Goodness, look at that. It is indeed still able to walk. If you have been holding on to your papers, good. Now squeeze that paper, because after adjusting the height, it could still not only walk, but even dance. But it goes further. Do you remember the crazy asymmetric experiment for the legs? Let's do something like that with thickness. And as a result, they can still not only walk, but even perform gymnastic moves. Woohoo! Now, it's great that one algorithm can adapt to all of these body shapes, but it would be reasonable to ask, how much do we have to wait for it to adapt? Have a look here. Are you seeing what I am seeing? We can make changes to the body on the fly, and the AI adapts to it immediately. No retraining or parameter tuning is required. And that is the point where I fell off the chair when I read this paper. What a time to be alive! And now, scholars, bring in the boxes. Haha! It can also inhabit dogs and fish, and we can also have some fun with them as we grab a controller and control them in real time. The technique is also very efficient as it requires very little memory and computation, not to mention that we only have to train one controller for many body types instead of always retraining after each change to the body. However, of course, this algorithm isn't perfect. One of its key limitations is that it will not do well if the body shapes we are producing strays too far away from the ones contained in the training set. But let's leave some space for the next follow-up paper too. And just one more thing that didn't quite fit into this story. Every now and then I get these heartwarming messages from you fellow scholars noting that you've been watching the series for a while and decided to turn your lives around and go back to study more and improve. Good work, Mr. Munad. That is absolutely amazing, and reading these messages are a true delight to me. Please keep them coming. What you see here is an instrumentation for a previous paper that we covered in this series, which was made by weights and biases. I think organizing these experiments really showcases the usability of their system. Weights and biases provides tools to track your experiments in your deep learning projects. Their system is designed to save you a ton of time .
Herzlich willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe von Mit offenen Karten. Das chinesische Shenzhen soll für Peking das Aushängeschild für sein neues Spitzenprodukt werden. Smart Cities, intelligente Städte, in denen die 5G-Technologie das Leben zu einem wahren Paradies macht, mit besserer Gesundheitsversorgung durch allgemeinen Zugang zu Krankenakten sowie weniger Staus und mehr Sicherheit durch Kameranetze. Das Ganze natürlich mittels einer flächendeckenden Überwachung inklusive Gesichtserkennung. Die 5G-Technologie, Chinas Herzstück der Smart City-Strategie, soll weltweit vermarktet werden. Aber nicht nur darüber wollen wir heute berichten. Anhand von Karten wollen wir erklären, wie diese neue Technologie einer immer engmaschigeren und schnelleren Vernetzung Teil des Handelskriegs zwischen China und den USA wurde. Eines Krieges, der auch uns betrifft, denn er zwingt jedes Land dazu, Partei zu ergreifen. Begonnen hat das alles mit unserer Abhängigkeit vom Smartphone. 1983 stellte der US-Konzern Motorola das erste Mobiltelefon vor, damals ein Luxusgegenstand. Ab 1990 verbreiteten sich in Europa mit dem GSM bzw. 2G-Standard dann die Handys und bald folgte auch Asien. Im Jahr 2000 kam mit 3G das Smartphone als Taschencomputer hinzu. 2009 ermöglichte 4G eine 50-mal so hohe Datenrate und die Zahl der Handys stieg sprunghaft an. Inzwischen gibt es weltweit mehr Anschlüsse als Menschen, ein einträgliches Geschäft für die Konzerne aus dem Silicon Valley, Partei zu ergreifen. Begonnen hat das alles mit unserer Abhängigkeit vom Smartphone. 1983 stellte der US-Konzern Motorola das erste Mobiltelefon vor, damals ein Luxusgegenstand. Ab 1990 verbreiteten sich in Europa mit dem GSM bzw. 2G-Standard dann die Handys und bald folgte auch Asien. Im Jahr 2000 kam mit 3G das Smartphone als Taschencomputer hinzu. 2009 ermöglichte 4G eine 50-mal so hohe Datenrate und die Zahl der Handys stieg sprunghaft an. Inzwischen gibt es weltweit mehr Anschlüsse als Menschen, ein einträgliches Geschäft für die Konzerne aus dem Silicon Valley. Apple ist größter Smartphone-Hersteller in den USA und drittgrößter in Europa. Samsung ist Nummer 1 in Europa und Nummer 2 in den USA. Huawei, größter Hersteller im eigenen Land und zweitgrößter in Europa, sowie ein wichtiger Akteur bei der 5G-Technologie. Die
Вру всегда, вру я.
Huawei, größter Hersteller im eigenen Land und zweitgrößter in Europa, sowie ein wichtiger Akteur bei der 5G-Technologie. Die Mobilfunkstandards wurden bisher in den westlichen Ländern, insbesondere den USA, entwickelt und durchgesetzt. Dadurch konnten die Nachrichtendienste der Five Eyes zudem die weltweite Kommunikation überwachen, außer der NSA, also die Geheimdienste aus Kanada, Großbritannien, Australien und Neuseeland. Der 5G-Standard verspricht 10-mal so hohe Datenraten wie 4G. Aber es geht nicht mehr nur um Schnelligkeit, sondern vor allem um die Vernetzung von Dingen und Diensten. Daraus ergeben sich verbesserte Möglichkeiten für Telemedizin, autonome Stromzähler, vernetzte Industrieroboter, intelligente Städte und fahrerlose Fahrzeuge. Zum ersten Mal wird ein Mobilfunkstandard nicht von den westlichen Ländern beherrscht, sondern vom chinesischen Konzern Huawei, einem Privatunternehmen, das mit dem Regime in Peking eng verbunden ist. Mit seinem strategischen Plan Made in China 2025 will China den Westen bis spätestens 2049 in den Bereichen Batterien, künstliche Intelligenz und 5G-Technik überflügeln und seine weltweite Führung ausbauen. Um diesen Traum wahr werden zu lassen, setzt China auf Huawei. Das Unternehmen wurde bei Shenzhen, unweit von Hongkong, gegründet, im chinesischen Silicon Valley. Dort befindet sich das Hauptquartier des Konzerns, der 194.000 Menschen in 170 Ländern beschäftigt. Huawei wurde 1987 von Ren Chengfei, einem ehemaligen Ingenieur der chinesischen Volksarmee, mit 14 Mitarbeitern gegründet. Das Unternehmen wuchs mit Hilfe staatlicher Banken rasch, stattete das Land mit zivilen und militärischen Telekommunikationsnetzen sowie 1,3 Milliarden Chinesen mit Handys aus und expandierte auf internationaler Ebene. Bei einem Treffen der Staatschefs aus China und Russland im Juni 2019 erhielt Huawei den Auftrag über die Ausrüstung Russlands mit 5G-Technik. Mit Unterstützung aus Peking ist der Konzern auch in Indonesien, Saudi-Arabien
Je suis littéralement sur le rien.
Technology is advancing the world. AI is created using a cross-disciplinary approach, which includes many topics such as science, mathematics, and psychology. Artificial intelligence has become so advanced that it can even learn on its own now. This advanced technology has even been used to make significant scientific discoveries. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 interesting
qui montre que si 84% des dirigeants d'entreprise, des cadres dirigeants ont pris conscience que l'IA leur donnerait un avantage compétitif.
Эта депрессия вызвана приемом нейролептиков. Она является опасным осложнением. Необходима отмена психотропных препаратов или снижение их дозы.
Нина, как вы сегодня себя чувствуете?
Я не хочу ни с кем разговаривать. Никого видеть. Не хочу быть одной.
А хотите вы быть здоровым?
Не знаю.
Речевая и двигательная заторможенность при эндогенной депрессии.
Плохо мне, не могу работать, не могу читать, не могу писать, все плохо.
А почему вы так медленно отвечаете на мой вопрос?
Мне трудно думать.
Расскажите мне, как началась болезнь?
Простите, доктор, я не могу об этом говорить.
Почему?
Мне так тяжело.
Почему у вас забинтованы руки?
Порезал.
Кто порезал?
Я сам.
А почему вы это сделали?
Тоска.
Ну, давайте посмотрим.
Депрессивное состояние. Суицидальная попытка. При депрессиях применяют мелипромин, антидепрессант стимулирующего действия. Доза препарата постепенно нарастает от 25 до 300 мг в сутки. На ночь назначают тизерцин. Лечение психических заболеваний – одна из сложнейших задач современной медицины.
Okay, wait. I want to show them something. Could you stand up for 1 minute? If we're talking about the forearm connected to each finger.
Si hablamos del antebrazo, estando conectado cada dedo.
Right, left. And you don't see, but his thumb is over here.
No lo ven, pero el circular está hasta acá.
So again, remember in the guitar, when the thumb is not behaving, the rest of the hand is having difficulties. If you try to
Cuando la
be...
guitarra circular no se comporta bien, el resto del dedo tampoco.
It's like this, he was here. Now that if you need the forearm on the finger that you're playing.
Necesitas tener el antebrazo con el dedo que está tocando.
And the trill is right, left. Okay? So that no finger can be away from that because it's pulling away that support.
Si el dedo está girando en la dirección opuesta, está jalando lejos del soporte que necesitas.
And another way of saying it, we can never ever stretch.
Y otra
We
manera
talked
de
about
decirlo
it.
es que nunca debemos estirar.
We can't stretch when we go from finger to finger, and we can't stretch when we play other fingers. The fingers that don't play do a lot of damage.
A los dedos que no están tocando hacen mucho daño.
So I always look not just at the fingers that are playing, I'm looking at the fingers that are not playing. Because if they're pulling away, very often the fourth finger, I connect somebody to the fourth finger, and they feel strong. Because they're now connected there. So people feel weak fourth finger.
Conecto a alguien con su cuarto dedo y entonces empiezan a sentir.
But sometimes they're connected, but the third finger is a little bit here. It's not going to feel strong.
Entonces conectan, pero luego estiran el tercer dedo.
The community has to be very close.
La comunidad tiene que estar muy cerca.
So you have to watch, when you're going right, left, your thumb has to be next to your second finger. It's not relaxed. It's right next to it. Position. Exactly. It's not tense. I don't. You see, I avoid the word relaxed for a reason. Yeah. Okay. So go to the. Wait. Two things. First of all, go right left. I don't. Wait. Let's slow down. Let's see if you really right left with the forearm. That's it. But really get the forearm behind.
Actually, I feel that it moves a bit faster.
Actually, I feel that it moves a bit faster when I told him to do that. Because as I told you, this is the only movement. It's not the only movement in playing, but the most basic. It's the only movement. We need the forearm to move sideways, because otherwise we stretch. And the question is, what's the fastest forearm movement, as fast as the fingers go up and down, that can move us across, so we don't have fast and slow?
Entonces le preguntas, ¿cuál es el movimiento más rápido del antebrazo que pueda moverse tan rápido como los dedos se mueven hacia arriba y hacia abajo?
We have fast and fast.
Y ese.
Yeah, exactly.
Tan rápido como los dedos.
So he asked me before, it takes too much time for the forearm to go down.
Entonces antes él me había preguntado que si tomaba demasiado tiempo para el antebrazo subir y bajar.
But now it feels faster.
Pero ahora siento que es más rápido.
So we always have to try something, even if it doesn't make sense.
Aunque al principio no haga mucho sentido.
So just don't worry about going back there. Just do this. So you're already preparing. Half hour before, he's preparing the thumb, and meanwhile, it's screwing up. I don't know what the word is. Now, I know why you are also stretching. Because somewhere along the line, you're going to the thumb.
Exactly.
So you're already preparing. Half hour before, he's preparing the thumb, and meanwhile, it's screwing up. I don't know what the word in Spanish is. It's dañando.
J'ai une annonce insolite à vous faire. Et cette annonce risque de plaire à tous ceux qui souhaitent se lancer ou développer agressivement leur...
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. This glorious paper from about 7 years ago was about teaching digital creatures to walk. The numbers here showcase. Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. After reading a physics textbook on the laws of fluid motion, with a little effort, we can make a virtual world come alive by writing a computer program that contains these laws, resulting in beautiful fluid simulations like the one you see here. The amount of detail we can simulate by writing a computer program that contains these laws, resulting in beautiful fluid simulations like the one you see here. The amount of detail we can simulate with these programs is increasing every year, not only due to the fact that hardware improves over time, but also the pace of progress in computer graphics research is truly remarkable. To simulate all these, many recent methods build on top of a technique called the material point method. This is a hybrid simulation technique that uses both particles and grids to create these beautiful animations. However, when used by itself, we can come up with a bunch of phenomena that it cannot simulate properly. One such example is cracking and tearing phenomena, which has been addressed in a previous paper that we covered a few videos ago. With this, we can smash Oreos, candy crabs, pumpkins, and much, much more. In a few minutes, I will show you how to combine some of these aspects of a simulation. It is going to be glorious, or maybe not so much. Just give me a moment and you'll see. Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. With the power of modern computer graphics and machine learning techniques, we are now able to teach virtual humanoids to... Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér.
Часто пропускаешь школьные занятия или учишься дома? Переходи в общеобразовательную онлайн-школу для учеников 7-11 классов.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute paper is creating virtual worlds on a daily basis and computing beautiful simulations in these worlds. And what you see... Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. when watching science fiction movies, we often encounter crazy devices and technologies that don't really exist, or sometimes ones that are not even possible to make. For instance, reconstructing sound from vibrations would be an excellent example of that and could make a great novel with the Secret Service trying to catch dangerous criminals.
Часто пропускаешь школьные занятия или учишься дома? Переходи в общеобразовательную онлайн-школу для учеников 7-11 классов.
Dear fellow scholars, this is too often, sometimes, ones that are not even possible to make. For instance, reconstructing sound from vibrations would be an excellent example of that and could make a great novel with the Secret Service trying to catch dangerous criminals. Except that it has already been done in real-life research. I think you can imagine how surprised I was when I first saw this paper in 2014 that showcased a result where a camera looks at this bag of chips and from these tiny vibrations it could reconstruct the sounds in the room. Let's listen.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, that lamb was sure to go.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, that lamb was sure to go.
Yes, this indeed sounds like science fiction. But 2014 was a long time ago, and since then we have a selection of powerful learning algorithms, and the question is, was the next idea that sounded completely impossible a few years ago, which is now possible? Well, what about looking at silent footage from a speaker and trying to guess what they were saying? Checkmark, that sounds absolutely impossible to me, yet this new technique is able to produce the entirety of this speech after looking at a video footage of the lip movements. Let's listen.
Between the wavelength, the frequency, and the speed of electromagnetic radiation. In fact, the product of the wavelength and the frequency is its speed.
Wow! So, the first question is, of course, what was used as the training data? It used a dataset with lecture videos and chess commentary from 5 speakers, and make no mistake, it takes a ton of data from these speakers, about 20 hours from each, but it uses video that was shot in a natural setting, which is something that we have in abundance on YouTube and other places on the internet. Note that the neural network works on the same speakers it was trained on and was able to learn their gestures and lip movements remarkably well. However, this is not the first work attempting to do this, so let's see how it compares to the competition.
Set white with I7 soon.
Set white with I7 soon. Set white with I7 soon. Set white with I7 soon.
The new one is very close to the true spoken sentence. Let's look at another one.
8 field guns are functioned in position. 8 field guns were captured in position. 8 field guns were captured in position.
Note that there are gestures, a reasonable amount of head movement, and other factors at play, and the algorithm still does amazingly well. Potential applications of this could be video conferencing in zones where we have to be silent, giving a voice to people with the inability to speak due to aphonia or other conditions, or potentially fixing a piece of video footage where parts of the speech signal are corrupted. In these cases, the gaps could be filled with such a technique. Look.
Let's look at a cell potential of 0.5 volts for an oxidation of bromide by permanganate. The question I have is, what pH would cause this voltage? Would it be a pH?
Now, let's have a look under the hood. If we visualize the activations within this neural network, we see that it found out that it mainly looks at the mouth of the speaker. That is, of course, not surprising. However, what is surprising is that the other regions, for instance, around the forehead and eyebrows, are also important to the attention mechanism. Perhaps this could mean that it also looks at the gestures of the speaker and uses that information for the speech synthesis. I find this aspect of the work very intriguing and would love to see some additional analysis on that. There is so much more in the paper. For instance, I mentioned giving a voice to people with aphonia, which should not be possible because we are training these neural networks for a specific speaker, but with an additional speaker embedding step, it is possible to pair up any speaker with any voice. This is another amazing work that makes me feel like we are living in a science fiction world. I can only imagine what we will be able to do with this technique 2 more papers down the line. If you have any ideas, feel free to speculate in the comment section below. What a time to be alive! This episode has been supported by Snap Inc. What you see here is SnapML, a framework that helps you bring your own machine learning models to Snapchat's AR lenses. You can build augmented reality experiences for Snapchat's hundreds of millions of users and help them see the world through a different lens.
Посмотри кругом, везде товар. Он так не думает, наверное. Чё, ну и что ты хочешь сказать? Ну, я продолжаю. А коммунизм надо, да, чтобы... Ну нет, он и себя так думает. Ну, он тебя понял, наоборот. Наоборот, он тебя понял. Я понял. Халява, да, правильно.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Gubaev Evgeniy. Neural network-based learning methods are capable of wondrous things these days.
Нет, это нормально, короче, да, понимаете. Не знаю, гипотетически так, понимаешь. А что тебе, смотри, если они, тогда ты еще больше заплатишь в конце концов, я понял, меня наоборот. А, ну да. Или один выродок там, 4 ребенков, которые дети, да, еще, да. Или один выродок, смотри, думай сам, как бы, да. Там много вариантов, но это все только, то есть, да. Нет, лучше этого ничего не бывает. Да, количество детей лучше этого, да, точно это говорят. Нет, если я так думаю, да. А что сидишь-то? Ну нет, семья для этого только и есть, понимаешь? Ну, а так можно, ну, жизнь не нормально. Ну да, я понял.
They can do classification, which means that they can look at an image and the output is a decision whether we see a dog or a cat or a sentence that describes an image. In the case of DeepMind's AI playing Atari games, the input is the video footage of the game and the output is an action that decides what we do with our character next. In OpenAI's amazing jukebox paper, the input was a style of someone, a music genre, and lyrics, and the output was a waveform. A few hundred episodes ago, we covered a paper from 2015 where scientists at DeepMind asked the question, what if we would get the be a computer program? Can we teach a neural network programming? I was convinced that the answer is no until I saw these results. So, what is happening here? The input is a scratchpad where we are performing multi-digit addition in front of the curious eyes of the neural network. And if it has looked for long enough, it was indeed able to reproduce a computer program that could eventually perform addition. It could also perform sorting and would even be able to rotate the images of these cars into a target position. It was called a neural programmer interpreter, and of course it was slow and a bit inefficient, but no matter, because it could finally make something previously impossible possible. That is an amazing leap. So, why are we talking about this work from 2015? Well, apart from the fact that there are many amazing works that are timeless, and this is one of them, in this series I always say 2 more papers down the line and it will be improved significantly. So here is the 2-minute papers moment of truth. How has this area improved with this follow-up work? Let's have a look at this paper from scientists at NVIDIA that implements a similar concept for computer games. So, how is that even possible? Normally, if we wish to write a computer game, we first envision a similar concept for computer games. So, how is that even possible? Normally, if we wish to write a computer game, we first envision the game in our mind, then we sit down and do the programming. But this new paper does this completely differently. Now, hold on to your papers because this is a neural network-based method that first looks at someone playing the game and then it is able to implement the game so that it not only looks like it, but it also behaves the same way to our key presses. You see it at work here. Yes, this means that we can even play with it and it learns the internal rules of the game and the graphics just by looking at some gameplay. Note that the key part here is that we are not doing any programming by hand. The entirety of the program is written by the AI. We don't need access to the source code or the internal workings of the game. As long as we can just look at it, it can learn the rules. Everything truly behaves as expected. We can even pick up the capsule and eat the ghosts as well. This already sounds like science fiction, and we are not nearly done yet. There are additional goodies. It has memory and uses it consistently. In other words, things don't just happen arbitrarily. If we return to a state of the game that we visited before, it will remember to present us with so we can experiment with replacing these parts, thereby reskinning our games. It still needs quite a bit of data to perform all this, as it has looked at approximately 120 hours of footage of the game being played. However, now something is possible that was previously impossible. And of course, 2 more papers down the line, this will be improved significantly, I am sure. I think this work is going to be one of those important milestones that remind us that many of the things that we had handcrafted methods for will, over time, be replaced with these learning algorithms. They already know the physics of fluids, or, in other words, they are already capable of looking at videos of these simulations and learn the underlying physical laws, and they can demonstrate having learned general knowledge of the rules by being able to continue these simulations even if we change the scene around quite a bit. In light transport research, we also have decades of progress in simulating how rays of light interact with scenes, and we can create these beautiful images. Parts of these algorithms, for instance noise filtering, are already taken over by AI-based techniques, and I can't help but feel that a bigger tidal wave is coming. This tidal wave will be an entirely AI-driven technique that will write the code for the entirety of the system. Sure, the first ones will be limited. For instance, this is a neural renderer from one of our papers that is limited to this scene and lighting setup, but you know the saying, 2 more papers down the line and it will be an order of magnitude better. I can't wait to tell all about it to you with a video when this happens. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to not miss any follow-up works. Goodness, I love my job. What a time to be alive! This episode has been supported by Weights and Biases. In this post, they show you how to visualize molecular structures using their system. Weights and Biases provides tools to track your experiments in your deep learning projects. Their system is designed to save you a ton of time and money, and it is actively used in projects taken over by AI-based techniques, and we can experiment with replacing these parts, thereby reskinning our games. It still needs quite a bit of data to perform all this, as it has looked at approximately 120 hours of footage of the game being played. However, now something is possible that was previously significantly over time be replaced with these learning algorithms. They already know the physics of fluids, or, in other words, they are already capable of looking at videos of these simulations and learn the underlying physical laws, and they can demonstrate having learned general knowledge of the rules by being able to continue these simulations even if we change the scene around quite a bit. In light transport research, we also have decades of progress in simulating how rays of light interact with scenes, and we can create these beautiful images. Parts of these algorithms, for instance noise filtering, are already taken over by AI-based techniques, and I can't help but feel that a bigger tidal wave is coming. this tidal wave will be an entirely AI-driven technique that will write the code for the entirety of the system. Sure, the first ones will be limited. For instance, this is a neural renderer from one of our papers that is limited to this scene and lighting setup, but you know the saying, 2 more papers down the line and it will be an order of magnitude better. I can't wait to tell all about it to you with a video when this happens. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to not miss any follow-up works. Goodness, I love my job. What a time to be alive! This episode has been supported by Weights and Biases. In this post, they show you how to visualize molecular structures using their system. Weights and Biases provides tools to track your experiments in your deep learning projects. Their systems such as OpenAI, Toyota Research, GitHub, and more. And the best part... Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. When I was a bachelor student and took on my first bigger undertaking in computer graphics in 2011, it was a research project for a feature-length movie where the goal was to be able to learn the brush strokes of an artist. You see the sample brush stroke here, and what it could do is change the silhouette of a digital 3D object to appear as if it were drawn with this style. This way, we could use an immense amount of perfectly modeled geometry and make them look as if they were drawn by an artist. The project was a combination of machine learning and computer graphics and got me hooked on this topic for life. So, this was about silhouettes. But what about being able to change the lighting? To address this problem, this new work promises something that sounds like science fiction. The input is a painting, which is thought of as a collection of brush strokes. First, the algorithm is trying to break down the image into these individual strokes. Here, on the left, with A, you see the painting itself, and B is the real collection of strokes that were used to create it. This is what the algorithm is trying to estimate it with, and the painting into these individual strokes. Here, on the left, with A, you see the painting itself, and B is the real collection of strokes that were used to create it. This is what the algorithm is trying to estimate it with, and this colorful image visualizes the difference between the two. The blue color denotes regions where these brush strokes are estimated well, and we can find more differences as we transition into the red-colored regions. So, great, now that we have a bunch of these brush strokes. But what do we do with them? Well, let's add one more assumption into this system, which is that the densely packed regions are going to be more affected by the lighting effects, while the sparser regions will be less impacted. This way, we can make the painting change as if we were to move our imaginary light source around. No painting skills or manual labor required. Wonderful! But some of the skeptical fellow scholars out there would immediately ask the question, it looks great, but how do we know if this really is good enough to be used in practice? The authors thought of that too and asked an artist to create some of these views by hand, and what do you know? They are extremely good. Very close to the real deal, and all this comes for free. Insanity. Now, we noted that the input for this algorithm is just one image. So, what about a cheeky experiment where we would add not a painting, but a photo, and pretend that it is a painting? Can it relight it properly? Well, hold on to your papers and let's have a look. Here's the photo, the breakdown of the brush strokes if this were a painting, and wow! Here are the lighting effects. It worked! And if you enjoyed these results and would like to see more, make sure to have a look at this beautiful paper in the video description. For instance, here you see a comparison against previous works, and it seems quite clear that it smokes the competition. Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai.
This video is about natural selection. If you've watched the previous videos in this series, you've seen these blob creatures live, die, and replicate, but it's been a little bit artificial. We just gave each type of creature a replication chance and a death chance, and we saw what happened. With natural selection, though, we usually can't know precise replication and death chances. Instead, selection comes from interactions between a creature's traits and its environment. So in this video, we're going to make a real evolving system by putting our blob creatures into a simple environment and giving them traits. Let's see what we can learn by watching some actual natural selection happen. Alright, so what does our environment look like?
Each note.
Ça montre qu'il y a un grand écart entre ce que les entreprises veulent faire aujourd'hui et ce qu'elles sont capables de faire. Je pense qu'il faudra bien de 5 à 10 ans, peut-être plus, pour que la plupart des entreprises adoptent des solutions d'IA. Certaines n'y arriveront pas. Je pense que certaines entreprises mourront pour ne pas avoir adopté ces solutions à temps.
Le logiciel doit devenir, entre guillemets, intelligent et doit à la fois prédire et prescrire quelles sont les meilleures actions à mener pour les utilisateurs. On est clairement à l'aube d'une révolution dans notre industrie, qui est l'industrie de l'édition de logiciels, puisqu'un logiciel doit maintenant proposer une valeur ajoutée supplémentaire à ses utilisateurs. On ne fera plus jamais du logiciel comme avant.
L'intelligence artificielle, ça nous conduit à nous projeter vers un concept qu'on connaissait peu jusqu'à présent, qui est tout ce qui est cognitif, c'est-à-dire se mettre en capacité d'apprendre plus vite avec toutes les informations que nous véhiculons, que nous portons, que nous transportons et que nous gérons, plus vite que ce que l'intelligence humaine a la capacité de faire.
Eh bien, en fait, ça donne tout simplement à nos clients la capacité à prendre des décisions sur un panorama et sur une perception de leur environnement qu'ils n'ont jamais eu. L'exhaustivité de l'accès à l'information, plus les traitements intelligents qui sont passés sur ces volumes de données très importants, leur permettent d'aller détecter des règles jusque-là invisibles, vont leur permettre de détecter des liens de corrélation entre les données et vont leur permettre de contextualiser la donnée pour véritablement la transformer en information. C'est ce fameux Graal de la transformation de la donnée en information.
Dans notre domaine, plus particulièrement dans l'assurance, l'IA peut avoir un vrai intérêt parce qu'il va permettre non pas de robotiser, mais d'améliorer la fluidité et d'industrialiser un peu plus des travaux qui jusqu'à présent ne pouvaient pas forcément l'être. Alors ça ne veut pas dire que tout va être.
Такие варварские способы лечения душевнобольных применялись на протяжении веков в прошлом. Используя метод условных рефлексов, Иван Петрович Павлов впервые в мировой науке начал изучение влияния лекарственных веществ на высшую нервную деятельность животных. Академик Павлов по праву признан основоположником психофармакологии, науки, изучающей влияние лекарственных веществ на поведение, эмоции, расстройства психической деятельности. Только в 50-е годы нашего столетия появились психотропные средства, эффективные при лечении психических заболеваний. До этого момента лечение ограничивалось электрошоком и применением инсулина. К числу основных психотропных средств относятся транквилизаторы, нейролептики, антидепрессанты. Транквилизаторы – препараты психоседативного, успокаивающего действия. Они применяются для лечения невротических и неврозоподобных состояний. Неврозы Группа функциональных психических заболеваний, развивающихся в результате длительно воздействующих психотравмирующих факторов, эмоционального или умственного перенапряжения.
Я ехал в автобусе, вдруг почувствовал, что мне не хватает воздуха, как будто бы стало душно. Меня очень сильно забило сердце, я почувствовал это.
Вот какой-то страх, что я умираю. Голова какая-то вся забита мыслями разными, все в болезни. Вот все время думы какие-то, страхи.
Но прежде чем транквилизаторы, как и любые другие лекарственные средства, поступают в клиническую практику, они проходят долгий путь тщательных доклинических испытаний. Поиск новых психотропных средств, изучение их свойств и возможных механизмов действия проводится в условиях эксперимента на животных. В этом фильме вы познакомитесь с некоторыми методами оценки психотропной активности препаратов. Наиболее специфичные для изучения транквилизаторов модели конфликтной ситуации. Эта крыса длительное время не получала воду.
Привет, гитарист! Приглашаю тебя на нашу распродажу в честь Черной Пятницы. На ней ты найдешь наши топовые курсы со скидкой до 75%. А также сможешь поучаствовать в розыгрыше.
Удар электрического тока создает конфликтную ситуацию. Пить хочется по-прежнему, но страх не позволяет животному приблизиться к воде. Это состояние устойчиво. Вводим транквилизатор и наблюдаем за поведением животного. Страх подавлен. Удары электрического тока теперь не отпугивают крысу. Еще один вариант конфликтной ситуации. Спасаясь от ударов электрического тока, подаваемого через пол камеры, крыса быстро находит безопасное место на скамеечке. Усложним эксперимент. Крыс 2, а скамеечка 1. Возникает конкуренция за спасительное место. После введения транквилизатора оказывается, что на этой скамеечке можно ужиться и вдвоем. Способность транквилизаторов нормализовать поведение в условиях конфликтной ситуации коррелирует с их анксиолитическим действием. Влияние транквилизаторов хорошо выявляется в опытах с воздействием неожиданно возникающего раздражителя. Крысу обучают находить правильный путь к поилке в лабиринте. После нескольких пробежек навык закрепляется. В привычных условиях крыса безошибочно находит путь к воде. Внезапный яркий свет тормозит активность животного. После введения транквилизатора яркий свет уже не пугает крысу. Таким образом, транквилизаторы оказывают отчетливое нормализующее влияние на поведение в условиях конфликтной ситуации и при воздействии неожиданного раздражителя.
Legatissimo. You must get to the point. That's it. Beethoven remains constantly contemporary. This music really deals with the completeness and the innermost nature of the human condition. It is about the necessity to push yourself to the limit. It does not shy away from the extremes. That out of chaos, out of strife, comes a new order.
I was born in Shenyang, China, which is in the northeast region of China, which has 7 million people. It's a very big city. My father, who is the leader of the Chinese traditional orchestra in my city, I won. I just love it to perform, and I love the light, and I love the time when I'm in.